In the 2nd century, a Roman emperor had an open rock landscape here, west of ancient Jerusalem, filled in with earth. Workers hauled in tons of rubble and buried a tomb that was meant to disappear from the memory of mankind forever. After that, they placed stone upon stone a pagan structure over it. And yet, it is at that place that the tomb of Jesus is venerated to this day. How is that possible? Is it truly the tomb of Jesus Christ, or just a place later believed to be it? The tomb is hidden in Jerusalem, deep inside the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, the holiest building in Christianity. It is enclosed by a chapel, the so-called Edicule. Millions of people come here every year to touch a marble slab and pray at this place. But what really lies beneath it? Did the Roman emperor actually bury the real tomb of Christ under rubble and earth? Or are we today making a pilgrimage to a place that was only identified much later? Today, we go in search of clues. We are looking for the answer to one question. Is this really the tomb of Jesus Christ? For that, we have to go back almost 2,000 years. Where was this tomb located? What did this place look like at that time? And how can we even know that? Fortunately, we do have accounts, even quite precise descriptions. They are found in the New Testament. What do the Gospels say? They mention several things that are crucial for this question. The tomb was new. It was cut into rock. It was located near the place of crucifixion. John also reports a garden, and the crucifixion itself took place outside the city. If the site in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre is authentic, it has to match all of this. In the Epistle to the Hebrews, we find the clearest reference to the crucifixion outside the city. And so Jesus also suffered outside the city gate to make the people holy through his own blood. This immediately raises an objection to the authenticity of the tomb. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre lies within the old city of Jerusalem. Anyone who has the city walls of today in mind quickly thinks, then the tomb could not have been located here. But what matters are not the walls of today, but the walls at the time of Jesus. The city boundary was different back then. According to archaeological reconstructions, the area of today's Church of the Holy Sepulchre lay outside the city. So the site does not fail this condition, it fulfills it. The Gospel of John mentions a detail that almost sounds too good to be true: a garden right at the place of execution. Critics often considered this a theological embellishment, but archaeology has broken the silence. Since 2022, something has been happening in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre that has not happened for centuries. Archaeologists from the University of Rome are excavating deep beneath the present floor. They are reaching layers that have not seen light for 2,000 years. And what they've found there is nothing less than a sensation. They did not just encounter cold stone. In soil samples, whose analyses were published in 2024, they discovered the biological fingerprints of the past: pollen and seeds from olive trees and grapevines. In addition, remains of grain and figs. But that is not all. The archaeologists uncovered remains of low stone walls. These are traces of terraces that were built to hold fertile soil in the rugged quarry. Suddenly, a dusty theory becomes living reality. Beneath the magnificent Church of the Holy Sepulchre, there really was a cultivated area. A garden with walls, grapevines, and fig trees. just as John described 2,000 years ago. So we are not standing here only on a legend. We are standing on the ground of a garden that existed exactly like this 2,000 years ago. This is a scientific sensation. We no longer have only a theological argument or an old legend. We have biological evidence. For over 2,000 years, this garden was buried under tons of stone and gold. And now we know. Archaeology confirms the gospel. The garden was really there. But the garden is not the only testimony that has remained to us. It is part of a larger picture. Behind the magnificent facade of the Edicule lies a place that most pilgrims overlook, the Syrian chapel. Anyone who enters this inconspicuous, soot-darkened room suddenly stands before a time capsule. In the wall, there is an opening into a first-century Jewish double tomb. Raw, hewn rock, completely without marble or decoration. These rock niches are the visible proof that this area was indeed used as a burial place in the time of Jesus. The venerated tomb is therefore not isolated in an unsuitable environment. It lies exactly where one would expect a burial site of that period, outside the city walls of that time, in a private garden area where families laid their dead in the rock. We have here a remarkable agreement between the biblical accounts and the physical reality on site. As impressive as all of this is, it is only the framework. We also have to ask what lies inside the present enclosed tomb. Is this tomb in the center of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre just an empty monument, a kind of later construction? For a long time, researchers could only speculate. The tomb slab had been sealed since the year 1555. No one knew what was really beneath it. But in October 2016, what had been considered impossible happened. During urgent restoration work, scientists opened the tomb. They had exactly 60 hours. What they found beneath the marble took the breath away of those present. First, they removed the upper covering. Beneath it, gray rubble. Then, a second, older marble slab appeared, with a carved cross from the Crusader period. But when the archaeologists lifted this layer as well, they reached the actual core. After more than 450 years, people were once again looking directly at an original burial bed hewn from the solid rock, something no one had known about anymore. Before the eyes of the researchers lay the original rock surface itself, silent testimony that this was not a later symbolic construction, but the preserved core of a rock-cut tomb. When Jerusalem lay in ruins after the Roman conquest in the year 70, the knowledge of the tomb did not disappear. The first Christians would not simply have forgotten the place where they bore witness to the resurrection of Jesus. They came here. They preserved the memory, and they passed it on to their children. This explains why Emperor Hadrian built here in the 2nd century. Hadrian wanted to break the identity of the city completely. He persecuted Christians and Jews alike and wanted to erase every memory of their religious roots. When Jerusalem was turned into a Roman colony, he did not cover just any place. Why else would he have chosen this exact spot, in an uneven quarry outside the walls, to build up a massive platform? It was a deliberate display of power. Exactly where Christians venerated the tomb of their Lord, Hadrian had a pagan temple to the goddess Venus constructed. He wanted to extinguish Christianity at its source. But that is precisely what turned around. The temple became an unmistakable marker. From then on, Christians could point to this monumental structure and say, "It lies beneath here." What was meant as erasure preserved the place. The temple marked it for the centuries to come and sealed the tomb under tons of rubble. It protected the rock from weathering and destruction. Hadrian wanted to make the tomb disappear. Instead, he preserved it. Two centuries later, the situation changed. The first Christian emperor, Constantine the Great, had the pagan structure removed down to its foundations. Christian tradition says that his mother Helena came to Jerusalem to locate the site of the tomb. In doing so, she relied on the memories of the local Christians, who had preserved the place under the temple over generations. When the Roman debris was finally removed, the tomb came back into view. Eusebius of Caesarea, a contemporary witness of Constantine's building works, describes how the debris was cleared away and the tomb was uncovered, contrary to all expectation, intact. To make this place the center of a gigantic church, the builders took a radical step. They did not remove the tomb, but the rock around it. They literally cut the burial chamber out of the mountain until only a freestanding rock core remained. That is the reason why the tomb today does not look like a natural cave. It was isolated, shaped, and left standing on its own. Only then was the first protective structure built over it, the early Edicule, and above that, a vast basilica. It was one of the largest complexes of antiquity, far more extensive than today's Church of the Holy Sepulchre. From a hidden rock tomb in a garden, a monumental sanctuary had become. But even that did not remain untouched. In the year 1009, the basilica was heavily destroyed under Al-Hakim. Later reports say that the tomb itself was also attacked and largely torn down. The church was later rebuilt by the Crusaders. They also gave the Edicule its new form and placed a marble slab over the preserved rock core of the tomb. But the story did not end there. In 1808, a severe fire devastated the church. Here in the Syrian chapel, the traces of that fire are still visible to this day. This place was never restored. The Edicule was almost completely destroyed, and shortly afterward, rebuilt again. After all these interventions, it seems almost impossible that beneath the present Edicule, the same tomb core still lies as in the time of Constantine. After destruction, reconstruction, and fire, one would expect that this core would have long been lost. And then came one of the most remarkable findings of the 2016 investigations. The researchers also analyzed mortar from the area between the original limestone surface and the later coverings. The result was spectacular. The analyses showed that this mortar actually dates to the 4th century, exactly to the time of Constantine. This is crucial for the question of authenticity, because it shows that the tomb core that lies beneath the Edicule today is the same one that was already venerated and architecturally enclosed in the time of Constantine. It was not newly identified in the Middle Ages or after the fire. It is materially identical with the tomb that was already venerated as the true tomb of Jesus 1,700 years ago. After everything we have seen, the question of authenticity can no longer only be asked, but answered. Not a single piece of evidence decides this, but the sum of the findings. The New Testament describes a new rock-cut tomb in a garden outside the city. The site of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre matches this, outside the city wall of that time, and the botanical findings support the garden character. The neighboring tombs show that this area was indeed used as a burial place in the 1st century. The core of the venerated tomb is an ancient rock-cut tomb from the correct period. The mortar dating connects the place venerated today with the Constantinian veneration of the 4th century. And even the overbuilding, interventions, and destructions of the later centuries ultimately did not lead to the loss of the site, but to the survival of its core. Archaeology and history are leading us to a point where the doubts are fading more and more. Because when you put all the pieces together, the garden, the ancient tombs, the rock core, and the continuity over nearly 2,000 years, then there is hardly any other conclusion left. We are standing here, very likely, at the very place that changed the world forever. History has hidden this tomb behind walls and gold, but it could not break it. My name is Norbert, right here from Jerusalem. If you enjoyed this journey, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching.